Okay, so I have been using Cursor for 60 days now. I made a video of Cursor in 30 days. This is the 60-day video, and I'll be fully honest with you guys. I think Cursor has actually made me a better developer. And prior to Cursor ever existing, by the way, prior to 2 months ago, I did not use almost any AI tool. I know AI has been booming and it has been around for a while, but I primarily developed everything manually. And part of it was like the stigma around it. Part of it was resistance. Part of it was like, yo, AI is going to make us redundant. Why would I use a tool? But eventually, now, now that I've gone all in, I've literally deep dive, learned about how people are using it, experimented with as many tools as possible. I now fully see the value here. And not only see the value, it quite literally has translated into real tangible improvements in how much productivity and value I am producing. And I'm not specifically talking about lines of code. Obviously, I'm producing more lines of code now than ever, but more importantly, the amount of productivity and value. So now I can actually sit back a little bit and think more from a product mindset, think more from a decision architecture design mindset, and less about the actual tangible code or implementation. So I have effectively become not only a software engineer, but like a software engineer, product manager, project manager, code reviewer. Essentially, like you're actually able to wear more hats more efficiently. Because so the way the general workflow goes is like you basically like have an idea of something you want to build out and you start having a conversation with ChatGPT, in this case GPT-5. But the main thing here is I especially tell it, like if we look back in some of my chat histories with development, I always explicitly tell it to not write any code. So it's just a back and forth conversation, and most of the time I'm not asking it questions. I like a lot of people have basically leased the thinking to AI. They let AI do the thinking, and I think that is fundamentally wrong because honestly, AI is actually quite real. It's actually quite bad at thinking from what I've seen so far. I know we see this little thinking, flashing thing, thought for 4 seconds, blah blah blah. But I'm not gonna lie, AI is extremely creative, as in it could come out with ideas out of thin air. It can come out with like 5 different ideas, but like just looking through all the ideas it generates most of the time is slop. And sometimes it even invents things. Like it literally makes things up. Like sometimes I'll ask it to basically look into an API and see if it can support a certain use case, and it'll say yes. It'll literally flat out lie. It'll just spit out saying yes. So that part I actually kind of took back, where I do the thinking now. I actually sit through, okay, this API supports this. Actually go and look up the documentation. Obviously, sometimes I'll take the documentation or take the URL. You can paste it directly into any of the LLM tools, and it'll basically give you a summary. You can also use MCPs, so you can essentially connect the model context provider for the given website documentation or whatever it is, and ingest some of the context into the AI so it doesn't start making shit up. But even with MCPs, there is a very high likelihood that AI will eventually make something up. It just happens. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It's something about the trading, but it is bound to happen. Now, when I do the thinking, I'm essentially saying, hey, can you find me the piece of link or a piece of information in this documentation that basically proves that we can do this? Or hey, like, does this specific API, what are the different parameters it passes? But like these are all more like, they're not really like thought, like you don't have to like, it's not thought provoking, right? Like, can this do this? It's like very basic questions. It's just very basic questions, or find me evidence that this can do this. And then it gives you evidence, and then you go in and actually look at the actual line it linked you to, and then you read it, and then you're like, oh yeah, you're right. You're essentially validating information. It's almost like if you run a law firm, you know how lawyers have essentially associates that actually do the research? The associates are literally grinding through. And when I mean research, I don't even really mean research. I mean like they just grind through like thousands of documents and essentially just highlight the more important details and then give it to the actual lawyer. And the lawyer then will like only review, instead of like reviewing 1,000 pages worth of information, they're only reviewing like 1 page, which is just a short summary. That is essentially what AI has provided, and using Cursor for 60 days, that has basically saved me so much time in essentially like grinding through information, which I just don't have to do anymore. And then on top of that, it produces the code that I actually need to implement the said feature. So my job effectively becomes a thought leader. The word that I think everybody cringes at is now literally what AI enables you to do. AI actually enables you to just be a thought leader. It essentially lets you do the thinking. It essentially lets you take the room to actually do the thinking, go through different scenarios, come up with solutions, attempt to implement it, get some response, get some feedback, and iterate on it. It lets you do that at accelerated rates. If you could do that maybe once or twice a week before, now you can do it once or twice a day. Like you could essentially test out different strategies, multiple different strategies in a single day. And that effectively has made it infinitely easier to develop for me. Honestly, like I'll be real with you. I think my prediction of AI making me about like 1.5 to 2x faster, I think for sure it's 2x. It has to at least be 2x. I think I am at least producing, and I say 2x, not 2x amount of code, I mean like 2x amount of value. I think I am at least producing twice as much value as I was producing before. And I don't mean to be arrogant, but like before AI, I was a very fast developer. I was really, really good at development. I was a very fast developer. I could build features out like probably faster than 95% of devs out there. With AI, bro, when I tell you with AI, I'm even faster than that. Like it just blows my mind. I genuinely would have never thought that AI would get to a point where we're at a point where we could just produce like insane amount of value in very short period of time. But that being said, I see that like a lot of people are kind of worried or I guess like fear mongering about the fact that AI will replace us all. I'll be real with you. I don't think that's the case because AI on its own is fucking useless. It's just straight up useless. AI on its own without actually somebody leveraging it is point blank useless. You need good, capable people to leverage the tools. A sword in the hands of an idiot is not as dangerous, whereas a sword in the hand of a sword master is probably just as dangerous as a gun. And that's a weird analogy to use, but AI is effectively a weapon, a tool. It is something that is extremely powerful, extremely, extremely powerful. It is capable of probably wiping the world out. But in the hands of a complete moron, it is as effective as the moron. And that is one thing that I think everybody needs to register in their heads. The expectations of what it means to have a career just went up. You're just going to have to be smarter. You're just going to have to be sharper. You're just going to have to be more creative. You're just going to have to be more passionate, more involved. And I know that is a lot to ask because not everybody wants to be that way. Not everybody wants to dedicate their entire life to basically their career. I get it. And 100%, I feel the same way. I think like my career is a means to an end. I'm more passionate about a lot of other things. I'm passionate about gaming. I'm passionate about travel. I'm passionate about movies, anime, YouTube, literally making YouTube videos. But you have to, at some point, accept the fate and kind of just get better. Like, I hate to say it, you just got to get better. You have to get better. It's not an option. You have to use AI tool to get better. You have to use the tools to produce more value. You have to be more creative, your critical thinking skills has to exponentially improve. And dude, I'm not gonna lie, like recruiters have been in my DMs like crazy. I've been getting like a recruiting message like multiple times a week at this point. Obviously, the demand for senior software engineers has always been exceptionally high, but I think it's even gone higher because a lot of companies are realizing if they can pair a really good senior engineer with Cursor, it's effectively almost as productive or valuable as having a 5-10 people engineering team. And so now the fight for talent is slowly coming back, but specifically like fight for talent, and I mean like extremely hyper talented people. It's a fight for extremely hyper talented people. And you're the only way to do that, the only way to like be one of the people that gets seeked out is visibility. Like they have to be able to find you. So your LinkedIn, I don't know where else I guess they look for LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, like whatever. You have to be visible. You have to share your wins. You have to share your successes. You have to let the world know you are getting 1.5 to 2x more productive with Cursor. You have to let the world know like you're able to like create these crazy cool apps extremely fast and integrate with different technologies and just like do cool shit fast. And the second thing is you actually have to be good at it, right? Like once you land the job, once you've landed the interview, you actually have to be able to deliver. I think more and more companies are allowing people to use AI tools in interviews too. So I used to be stigmatized, but I've seen straight up like companies expecting you to use AI tools at this point. Like if you don't use it, they're not even going to hire you. So the second thing is just you have to get better. You have to get better. You have to be able to produce more value with the tools in your disposal. If you aren't able to produce value with the tools in your disposal, and the amount of tools we have access to is just insane now. Literally, they have a tool for everything. You name it, they have a tool for it now. The amount of companies being produced because of this, like, listen, AI is overhyped, but I like the amount of companies being created because of AI that's not overhyped. There is probably, I would say, like, within the last month or 2 months or 3 months, I have seen hundreds, and this is understatement. This is only what I've seen. I'm assuming there's probably more numbers out there. I've seen hundreds of companies spin out of thin air, raising money. I've never heard of these people. I've never heard of these companies spinning out of thin air, raising millions of dollars. Obviously, capital is slowly being deployed again. I think there was a time and period when capital was a little bit worried and scared, but like, that has changed. Everybody's now deploying capital all of a sudden again. So all these companies are spinning up and they're building products for, essentially building tools. They're building infinite amounts of tools for everything. Everything you can think of, there's a tool for. And so you have to start using the tools. Like that's it. You can't be scared of it. Cursor, 60 days. All I can say, the biggest thing that I can say is you have to use it. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be specifically Cursor. I personally prefer Cursor. I checked out Cloud Code. I honestly don't like the whole terminal UX. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one of those like crazy fanatic developers that like I don't know, like they're just hyper obsessed with like finite state machines and like they want like this one terminal. Listen, I'm more practical. I like visuals. I like having a UI. I like having like settings. I like using both my keyboard and my mouse. We're built with like. We're both with hands, eyes, ears. No, like I want to use more of my senses. I don't want to just hyper optimize and like never have to lift my finger off my keyboard. I don't like that. I honestly don't like that. But anyways, if you like that, then use Cloud Code. But like regardless, you have to use the tools available. Like it's just not an option anymore. It's if you don't use the tools available to you, when React came out and people were still hell bent and stuck on like very legacy like PHP frameworks. Obviously, we're barring WordPress because I think WordPress is still pretty popular. Those guys had to eventually upskill, right? Or they had very niche jobs. But eventually, most people upskill to React. And then eventually, like React, we're going to get something else. But like now it's essentially, you have to upskill in the current tools that are basically mass adopted by the industry. And yes, the tools are going to be misused. The same way React was misused to, like the whole point of React was to build web applications faster and more efficiently. But then we have some seriously slow and chunky web apps built in React. That's because React was misused. Cursor is going to produce a bunch of slop that is guaranteed to happen, but that's not your problem. Your problem is you need to get really good at using Cursor to not generate slop. That's what you should be focused on. I promise you that is if you haven't been using it already, you should be using it. It'll make you more productive. I hope to give you guys a 90-day update. Maybe like another 30 days. I'm like, yo, guys, I was completely wrong. But like, I'm doubling down on the 60-day update. Anyways, hope you guys found this video useful. And I will see you in 30 days, I guess. Peace.